Live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for High Velocity Radio.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of High Velocity Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today on the show, we have Michelle Cauley with Cauley Associates. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thank you.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us about Cauley Associates. How you serving folks?
Sure. Cauley Associates, we are a group private practice. We are all licensed clinicians, licensed educators. So we work with that good old-fashioned stuff like individual therapy, couples therapy. We provide trainings, stuff like that.
And with mental health being in the headlines so much lately, you must be pretty busy.
We have never been this busy. I thought we were busy before, but we're running and we have not stopped, which is important because we also have to take care of ourselves as well.
That's right. You can't neglect that. That's for sure. Could you tell us a little bit about your background? Are you working primarily with individuals? Do you work with corporations? Who is that kind of ideal client for you and your team?
Sure. We do it all. We do both. So initially, our practice, we started off working with individuals, just your, regular day Joe Blow, someone that might comes in with experiencing depression or anxiety or, that boss at work is giving me a hard time and I'm just, having a really hard time, or sleep issues. And then there's couples counseling. My husband or my wife or my partner is, doing this and we're not getting along. And so that's how we initially started. And then, of course, over the years, we grew into working with corporations. Just like you have an individual client that comes in, a corporation is a client as well, and each company has a culture. And so with that, sometimes we've gotten calls where, there are two employees that are not getting along, or we're having a lot of high turnover, or, you name it. So
now
we do both.
When you're working with a corporation and because this may not seem intuitive for corporations to go, you know what, we should partner with a mental health support person or team.
Mm-hmm.
That may not be like kind of top
That's
of mind. So, and you mentioned some challenges that a lot of companies are facing, whether it's turnover, whether it's retention, whether, it's just conflict and culture. Those are all issues that every company has to deal with in some regard, but it may not be kind of, like I said, at the top of their mind to go, let's partner with a mental health professional. So can you talk about like ways you work with companies? Like, are you talking with the leadership of the company and then kind of getting to know them to understand how you might be able to plug in and support their employees?
Yes. Well, it is a unique way, right? You think, with a corporation with retention or conflict or any of those things, you're like, why would we call a mental health provider? And the thing is, it's the smartest thing. I think of it as something like, we like to frame it as business therapy. And so sometimes people think, oh, we need some conflict resolution, or we need to talk to legal because there are some issues here. But really, sometimes just being able to talk things out. Folks with mental health background, we really have a unique skill set. And so we're able to look at the behavior, because we're all people and people have behavior, but then we're also able to listen to it from a problem solving perspective. And so really, when you marry both of those, it's like the best of both. And so oftentimes ours have come from HR department. Sometimes it's word of mouth. A lot of times, like, in terms of bringing in a mental health professional. And then, and the other thing is mental health professionals, they're different names. So it could be therapist. It could be executive coach. It could be, so that's how it can look in terms of our entryway into corporations. I don't know. Did that answer? Does that help? Or
yeah, I'm trying to, for the listener, I'm trying to open their mind to how they might be able to best leverage this, because they may not have thought about it. They might have hired a consultant. They might have hired a lot of people to try to solve the same problem where it hadn't occurred to them that maybe this might be the best path to solve that problem.
That's right. Well, I also think, given since this pandemic and, you know, especially the last couple of years that we've had, corporations are now more open to it, because people are stressed out. You know, we've all heard about this great resignation. And it's just been a really unique time. And really, I think it's because of the uncertainty, right? And uncertainty brings anxiety. And so as a result, with all of, you know, mental health being at the forefront, there has been, you know, more conversation and more dialogue around it.
Yeah. And I think also that by seeing like some of these professional athletes at the highest levels, or you know, entertainers at the highest level say, you know, I'm taking a break because I'm getting burned out, or I'm feeling anxiety and I'm not performing it. And they're taking some of the stigma and shame away from it as well, I think. And it's opening people's minds to, hey, if this person can go through this, sure, I shouldn't be neglecting these feelings I'm having.
That's right. Entertainment, for athletes. Exactly. And the thing about it, it's so common. Look, we can bend our ear to, you know, our spouses or our friends or our siblings, but at some point it really is okay just to have a conversation, you know, and I tell people it's really a conversation. And it's the same thing. If a corporation is able to just say, well, you know what, let me connect with a person, whether they're coaches or consultants or mental health professionals, it really brings value to it shows value to the employees of, okay, there's a space that my employer has provided that I can go in and be able to speak to someone. And then also the other part of this I wanted to just share is corporations are also bringing folks like us in just to do training. So there might be, let's say, I don't know, the third Thursday of each month, you know, there might be something where we're going to have, a talk about depression. We're going to have a talk about workplace stress. We're going to have a talk about imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? So so there's a lot more opening. Oftentimes it comes through HR. I don't know if any of this makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling a bit. Well,
I think it does make sense, because I just think that corporations aren't thinking of your service as a possible solution, and they're going to maybe more business accepted places. Like, oh, I'm going to hire a consultant to come in to talk about these issues because it's a business issue and it's a business, you know, service that I'm hiring. And they're not thinking about mental health professionals attacking that same problem, but just from your lens and your way of dealing with these issues. And the company, at the bottom line, is they just want to solve the problem. They're really solution agnostic. They just want the problem solved as effectively and as efficiently as possible. And I think that your solution is a very valid and useful way of dealing with these same business issues that are happening every day and impacting their employees in lots and lots of ways.
That's right. Because the bottom line is always, it's the dollar bill, right? And so if we can come in and assist and work on whatever that conflict is, or that oftentimes it's communication, and if we can come in, because we're a neutral party, and if we can come in and kind of open some things and, kind of like have some communication, kind of get into some ego, it's a win-win for everyone, right? So the problem can get solved or can get addressed. and we can dig in and kind of maybe like look at some feelings around that and really be able to get back to business, which is what both people want usually.
Right. And I think that in the services that you offer in terms of educational seminars or talks or lunch and learns or just kind of that safe space to talk about some of these issues that are in the back of probably everybody's mind, but for whatever reason, they're not comfortable talking about it, you bring an interesting perspective to it where they might feel safer to be sharing with somebody with your background.
That's right. That's right. And I'm going to tell you, I love this stuff. I love when I see the light bulb, pops on. I love when I see, like, oh, I never thought of it from that perspective. We've been doing this work for over 20 years and it's we need it. And I think that to your point of what you mentioned, it's looked at as a business issue. And I'm just hoping that more mental health professionals, those that are interested in working with corporations, it's really about using the language and getting our skill set out there for corporations to be able to see that, there can be a huge impact. And it can be a win-win for everyone.
Now, talking about impact, can you share a story? Obviously, don't name the name, but maybe talk about the challenge that these folks were dealing with. Maybe you were working with a corporation and somebody inside had an issue and you were really able to work with them and help them get through it and maybe get to a new level that they didn't even think was possible at the beginning.
Sure. One that comes to mind is there was a company and there was conflict between two people, two people that were, that were really important. And so because there were conflict between these two people, they were causing disruption and chaos for other teams. And they were just having a difficult time. And so I guess other consultants and others had been called and nothing had happened. And so they called us and they said, well, we really don't know how to present this, but they shared. And I said, well, sure, absolutely. We'll come in. And so we did. And we listened to what the issue was. And we ended up spending time with both of these two employees. And we realized that one of the employees was having a mental health break. And the other employee, there was, I guess I would just term it as what we call workplace bullying. And so it really looked like there was a lot of bickering and there was a lot of, you don't respect my work and, I'm not heard and all of those things. But so after we met with both and we went back and we shared our findings, we realized we were able to get this one employee some mental health assistance because that's what that person needed. They would have never known that. They would have never known. It would have been looked like this is a problem employee. The employee that was kind of, doing the heckling, we were able to get him some education. And ever since then, we've been providing assistance, to this company.
And it probably changed the dynamic of the company. Like people don't feel like they're on eggshells. There's not a feeling of safety and respect. And
absolutely.
And the culture actually changes, when you deal with these difficult situations in a productive manner.
That's right. Absolutely. It completely changed. And, this person, both employees had been there for a really long time, but there was this. So, yeah. So it changed the culture and everyone got help and there was assistance. And, but it was interesting where they're like, we never thought of it from that aspect.
Yeah. And to you, it's probably like in 2 seconds you saw it. But to them, it didn't even occur to them at all. It wasn't even on their radar.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so I think it's so important to work with experts like yourself and have a team of support that can help people get through difficult times. And like you said earlier, coming out of the pandemic and with all this uncertainty with sometimes you're working from home, sometimes you're in the office and you want to be, you don't want to be. There's so many issues that people are dealing with now that are causing anxiety, that it's just exacerbating any type of, which might have started out as a small mental health challenge becomes a big one pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, generalized anxiety disorder is the number one diagnosed disorder in the world, not just the USA, in the world. And so since this pandemic, I think it's been an increase with children, with teenagers, of course, with adults. And so what do we do? And so some people that would have never entertained, let me just go talk to a counselor. Let me go talk to someone, they've reached out, which is a good thing. And I say to people, there is a stigma with mental health where, something's wrong with you or you must be crazy. And, and really I say, you're not. It takes the more in-depth person to be able to pick up the phone. You think about if you go to the doctor, or let's say if something's going on with my skin, I'm going to go call a dermatologist, right? I'm like, this is their specialty. Let me go have them look at this. It's the same thing, but really it's just like what you and I are having. It's really just a conversation. And sometimes people go in and all they need are just a few sessions. It's like, okay, I got a different perspective. I was able to listen. And then sometimes people, need more. And so, just to kind of, get that stigma out of the way of there's something wrong with me, from a deficit model.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And congratulations on all the success. It's just an amazing story. If somebody wants to learn more about your practice and get, on your calendar, maybe to have a conversation, is there a website?
Sure, Lee. It's Cauley, which is my last name, Cauley, and then the word associates, all spelled out, plural.com. So CauleyAssociates.com.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your story. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on High Velocity Radio.